formally open the meeting in compliance with Illinois law. I can report as board president. There's been a determination that in-person meetings are impractical because of the COVID-19 issues. And for that reason, we're holding this meeting virtually. The meeting is being recorded. Roland, would you call a roll, please?
Barbara?
Here.
Susan?
Here.
Me? Here. Julian? Philip?
Here.
Joyce?
Here.
Chastity?
Here.
Don?
Here.
Harriet?
Did you say Harriet?
I did.
I'm here.
That's good.
Do we have any visitors who wish to address the board?
There are no visitors in the room.
Okay. Agenda's first item is the president's report. I have nothing to report this time, so that brings us to the secretary's report and the approval of the minutes where Barbara Levin is president.
All right. Again.
Again? Oh no.
You don't want to get rid of me, huh?
I like you a lot.
Other than that correction, are there any other direct corrections to be had?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, approve the minutes. Any discussion? Please do the roll call.
He's not there.
Well, that's hard.
We can either wait a second or I can do the roll call, right?
You could, but let's give him a minute. I think he needs to do this job. It's his position.
Okay, there he is.
Okay. Roland,
Hmm.
we need to have you do a roll call on the minutes.
Okay. Barbara?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Roland? Yes. Julian? Philip?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Chastity?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Harriet?
Yes.
The next item on our agenda is correspondence and communications.
None.
It won't take long then. Moving on to the financial report. You received bills that were distributed today as well as financial reports. Is there a motion with regard to the bills payable?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. There's no discussion. Please call the roll.
Barbara?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Roland? Yes. Julian? Philip?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Chastity?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Harriet?
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to the financial reports. I had a question with regard to the financial reports. I noticed that there's an item in there about projected income of grants of 132,000 or thereabouts, of which we received nothing. Should we be concerned about this, or what can you tell us about that?
Actually, I think that might have been for the Live and Learn grants. I think that actually needs to be reduced. So because we didn't get that partially because of COVID. So actually I do need to adjust that. And then I also wanted you guys to note that we received $525,000 in property tax income last month and this month. And so we're paying off all our bills that were kind of accruing, like the Illinois Heartland Library System and the rest of our insurance bill and things like that. So we received about half so far, and then I'll make the adjustment about the grants because we're not going to get that grant this year.
Any other questions with regard to the financial reports for Gwen?
One curious one, 232 brush water looks high. Has there been a problem over there?
Yeah, we had a problem where we were leaving the hose out for the people watering the Japanese garden, and then people were turning it on, community members were turning it on and leaving it on. So we've since locked that, and then they have to come get a key now to turn on the water. So that shouldn't be an issue anymore. Because yeah, we did receive I think it was $350 bill, and it's usually around $16 a month, so it was quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they washing their cars or what were they doing?
I'm not sure. Some of the homeless population, we used to let them, wash their hands and things like that, or get water there, and we've had to stop doing that because of this.
I had a question about item 104, unemployment compensation,
Hmm.
that is now at nearly 300%
Yeah, we
budget.
yeah, it was budgeted based on normal, but I think we had somebody collect unemployment, and it should adjust itself again. I received a notification that we're supposed to get an adjustment for the next year soon, and I think it'll go back to normal
Okay.
because we had somebody collect unemployment previously. But I think it's a yearly adjustment, so it should go back to a more normal number soon.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the financial reports?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded
I'll
by
second.
Roland. Any discussion? Roland, call the roll.
Barbara,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Roland, yes, Julian, Philip,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Chastity,
Yes.
Don,
Yes,
Harriet.
Yes.
motion carries. That brings us to your report, Diana.
Okay. Building and ground maintenance, couple of things. We purchased some air filters, which arrived today. First, we reached out to Heartland Heating and Air at Don's suggestion, and that's who we normally use for our HVAC systems. They gave us a quote and some systems that were not as feasible as what we ended up researching then and finding. So we've got some units that were a little bit smaller and much quieter, that still have actually had a better rate of particle size in terms of particle size that they filter. So we got those in today, and we're placing those in areas that will be high trafficked. So that's a good thing. We're also canceling Cintas. So our paper towels and all that kind of stuff will be just doing that ourselves instead of using their services for rugs and maintenance supplies and that kind of thing. That's it for building and grounds. For the per capita grant, we have a requirement to read and discuss chapters 10 through Appendix A. So we're getting close to the end of these requirements.
Goodness.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have that open right now. I could also share it on my screen if that would be helpful.
That would. I don't have it handy. I
Okay.
must confess I did not read it word for word, but I did go through.
Okay. I will share it. 1 second. Okay. Everybody see that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So chapter 10 is about programming. This is where I I think our library excels and really shines, but these are the standards. We can go ahead and kind of look at them as they appear on the screen. Let me know if anything jumps out at you or if you have any questions or comments.
I was just impressed by how well we do, I think, in the programming. As far as I can see, I think we really do an excellent job.
I agree. It's one of our strong points,
Yeah.
even now.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that to me is what's really impressive and kind of a surprise is that how we've been able to transfer programming over to this new format. And it's been really rewarding. A lot of the things that are said in here about programs being diverse and being in response to community needs and done in partnership with other organizations are the things that we especially are finding ourselves to be really capable of doing right now in the midst of COVID, because other organizations that are doing programming with us because they don't have their normal venues. So we've been able to do some really big programs that would normally be larger than what we could handle inside of our building. And it's just been a very community-driven effort. I think that it has drawn attention to the library. It's got us a lot of, I think, loyal customers now, people who are really appreciative of our ability to work with them to kind of keep their organizations vibrant while this is happening. So any other comments about that? Or
I'd just like to join in with that and say that I think it's gives the library a really strong view with the community when you're putting out programs for the AAUP or University of Women or whoever. It's very impressive that we can be the format for them reaching their members as well as the community as a whole. I think it's very impressive.
Okay, so here's your next, and then your checklist basically just names all of those things that were described in the paragraphs above. Just puts them into a checklist format. I think we serve all the ages. And then this moves us on to youth and young adult services, which I think is another place where we've really shined. Get that, let me know what your thoughts, questions are, and I'll scroll down in just a second.
It wasn't on our assignment.
Huh?
That wasn't on our assignment.
It's chapters 10 through appendix A.
Oh,
This
through.
is chapter 11.
That means you didn't read the other ones either.
Well, you can read them now.
One thing I looked at, and maybe I don't realize this, under number 14, it says youth staff have access to a telephone. Do you provide that?
For the staff, yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, every staff person, almost every staff person here has a phone on their desk. Not every single one, but the children's librarian certainly does, and the teen librarian does. The children's, they each have an assistant who works with them that they don't have their own phones, but they have access.
I would think they would, but I just found it interesting that it was pointed out
Yeah.
as something that you have to have. I thought it was just a given.
Yeah, you would think that would be standard, but some of the standards that are listed here are there, they're trying to reach the broad spectrum of public libraries. And there are some really tiny public libraries that don't even have youth services staff, but there are probably some out there that struggle to, you know, to supply those staff with the things that they might need. Our Project Next Generation program, which is run by Elizabeth Hartman, I think this year she is doing work that I've never seen any librarian do. It is absolutely outstanding. She is a musician, and she centered her STEAM programming for this group this year around music and like the science and math of music. She sent out equipment, laptops loaded with Audacity software so that the kids could make and edit their own music, synthesizer kits, and she's got them using Discord, which is a really popular service for kids. It's similar to kind of a cross between Zoom and a social media platform, so that they can chat with each other and then they can have their meetings by Discord. And she, when she has her in her live meetings with them, she logs into Discord and shows them how to like use their synthesizer kits and that kind of thing. She did a program for a poster session for the Illinois Library Association conference to share that information about how to use Discord with others. But I think she could write papers on this and present on this for years. It's just absolutely amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Let's see, there's your checklist. I'm gonna take a look through that real quick. Let me know if you see anything that we need to draw our attention to.
Well, I do notice that we're supposed to evaluate youth services annually for popularity, effectiveness, accuracy, timeliness, and patron ease. I'm not sure whether this qualifies for that or whether or not we have done that in the past. It's probably a good thing to look at every services provider that we do, but I wasn't sure that we do that. I wanted to ask you about that one.
Let's see, how far down on that list is that?
About the ninth one down, right? You're just a little farther down, right there.
Okay.
You may evaluate it, and that may satisfy
Right.
our needs. I don't know. That's one
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, I keep an eye on all of the programming on a just continual basis. And where I can really see how we're doing is at the end of the fiscal year when we add everything up and compare it to the previous year. So we can see if we really had a drop in the number of programs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if we've had an increase in the quality of programs. So that's something that I do keep my eye on regularly and communicate with the programming staff on a really regular basis as well. And they come to me quite a bit, and they also all work together as a team, and I supplement some of their efforts at times, more so adult services than youth. But yeah, we keep a pretty good eye on it. And they're all librarians at this point too, which is you know, a really wonderful thing. They're all trained librarians. One is still in library school, but is working her way through that. And really all three of our program librarians have fairly new library science degrees. So they're very tech savvy, and they're very on top of what the trends are right now and kind of what the expectations are in the larger library world.
Seems to be a consensus we're doing well there.
Yeah. Okay.
But your comment is a nice segue into the next chapter, which is about technology.
That's true. Yeah.
So, which again, I feel like you guys do a phenomenal job. Sometimes better than we do.
Thank you. Well, we are very lucky to have some tech savvy people on staff, but also the fact that we contract with Laserware for our technology services really helps us to be able to do this far better than we would if we just relied on ourselves or had a tech person even on staff. Because some of the things, they keep all the computers up to date. They are very knowledgeable of what's going on with the library system. So we're never sort of out of sync with the software that we need and that kind of thing. And then they do like our cloud backup of all of our computers every week. They make sure that we are compliant with information security. And then we also, for like faxing and scanning and photocopying, and that stuff is contracted with a different server that's Modern Office. And that's a really useful service as well. We didn't used to have the fax service for patrons, and it's ended up being one of the most popular things that we have. And it's also made it much easier now because we have one machine for people to like just scan their materials and email it to themselves. It's tied in a lot with social work right now because so many people are coming into fax for assistance from Amarin and some other providers, bill forgiveness and that kind of thing. So it's been really handy to be able to fax things for people, have them fax them themselves.
Is our website ADA compliant?
Yeah, it is. That's the other thing about, Laserware is the server for our website and kind of developed the package. And then, so it is definitely ADA compliant. That's one of the things that was a requirement. And then Jennifer is the person who most regularly updates our website. And that happens very frequently, actually. And a couple of others of us are trained as well. So we can kind of back that up. And
Are we still listed in the phone book?
you know what? That's a good question. We
Yes,
gave
it all-
up.
Yeah, that appeared there, the phone book.
Yeah, the phone book. That stuck out to me too. I think we're in the white pages. We're not in the yellow pages anymore. We were always in the white pages and I never did anything to take us out. So, but the yellow pages we stopped paying for a long time ago. And there's the phone book has gone from, 3 inches thick to like a quarter of an inch. And our workstations is something else we've improved over the years. For a while there, people did have to wait sometimes like 15 minutes or so to get onto a computer. And now we never see anybody waiting because we have enough computer stations.
That actually was the one question I was going to ask, because it talks about somebody waiting should not exceed 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was tense when people were waiting. So it's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice that they're not anymore. And part of the reason that we were able to do that too was that E-rate, which is mentioned, I think, within the technology section above, is federal funding, and they developed a couple years ago a category in where we could pay for our fund, where we could install cable and upgrade cable. So we did that just a couple years ago. And so we were able to move cable into some sections that we didn't have cable in before, so that we have more space for spreading out our computers and putting more in. And of course, we do a lot with resource sharing, both sharing our own knowledge and of course, sharing our collection. And then E-rate pays for 90% of our internet connectivity as well.
Given the fact that we're in rural America, I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. I don't find a lot of delays or anything like that. And we haven't had any issues with our current internet service provider with them, with the internet going out. It's pretty rare for it to go out. And a couple of times that I've been here when it's happened, by the time I've called them on the phone, it's back up before they answer the phone. So that's been very good. We don't have self-checkout that's listed somewhere on here. But for the way that our building is set up, I think that it would really just cause our staff to have to walk around to the other side of the desk to help people with the self-checkout. So, but in some building designs, it is really handy to have self-checkout. In larger buildings or just building with a different layout. Definitely have firewalls and antivirus and all of that. So the checklist asks about all the same things.
Phones, do we have a public phone?
We do. We are one of the very few pay phones left in America.
Is it used much?
Is it used? It does get used. We also, if somebody's just making a quick call, we'll let them use the phone at the circulation desk. Like if they're just calling a cab or something, we'll do that. But if they're making, a personal call or they are making a lengthy call, then we put them on the pay phone. Okay, marketing and promotion. We do, the way we do marketing is through our newsletter, and then each programming librarian promotes their own programs. So like the children's librarian creates a newsletter every 2 months that then goes out to the schools, and the schools send it home with all of the children in Carbondale Public Schools, so that so everything related to the children's services is marketed very directly that way. We're active on Facebook. we do have a YouTube page, but mostly we've used our YouTube page to store these recordings. And our website is updated, and we do send our events to the local newspapers as well. So we're usually in all the community calendars. And then, of course, I go and speak to community organizations. And I think in terms of marketing the overall library, our involvement with other coalitions is also something that I think really draws attention to the library and what it does for the community. And we get a lot of compliments on that. I think that's because we are basically playing kind of a problem-solving role in the community at times. And that allows us to have a vision of what the community is needing from the library, and also for us to play a really active role within our mission of providing, serving the information and community and entertainment needs of our community.
I'm noting numbers 8 and 9 down there. We've never really done that on any formal basis. And maybe it would be a good, once we get through the pandemic, maybe those are some things that we would endeavor to do.
To do a walkthrough. Yeah, I haven't seen the board do that. That would be interesting. It'd be fun, actually.
Yeah. And then visiting other libraries, just as points of comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. The staff, that's often, not always, but often an aspect of our staff days that we will go and visit another library and get a lot of information from how they do things, and we get to see what their building looks like and meet their staff and build relationships in that way. So that would be a good thing. It's also just a good idea for board members, when you go to other places, to stop by the public library and walk in and see, how it compares, ask a couple questions. It's a fun, off the beaten path, touristy thing to do, but you can do it even just here in Southern Illinois. Just going out to Eden Marion, stop by that library and see what it looks like. Not this year.
Yeah.
How do we do on number 6?
Let's see. We do pretty well with this. Actually, so every year, the Illinois Library Association plans a luncheon for legislators, and that luncheon for the past few years has been run by myself and Amanda McKay and ILA. So we actually do it at Effingham Public Library because they have a room that is big enough. But our staff go. We usually have several staff who want to go, and we invite all of the local Southern Illinois legislators. So we actually are calling those legislators and then calling all the area libraries and encouraging them to come. And we present to the legislators kind of current library issues, and we show them a few examples of libraries that are doing something really interesting. So Carbondale Public has been featured a couple of times in that information packet that they get, and also in the presentation that's given as well.
Are any of the city staff library users?
Yeah, we get city staff in here, definitely. And then we also, though we may not see them as much directly, but we also, because of our like committee work and that kind of stuff, you know, are regularly in contact with people who work at the city. And I think that that really helps to build that relationship beyond our walls. So like the city manager and myself and Carolyn Harvey, who's on the city council, are all on the warming center board. And the city manager just invited me to be part of a diversity committee that will look at policies in Carbondale to make sure that they are inclusive. They said that I came to mind because I know a lot about what's going on in Carbondale, and probably can write policy too. So, so I feel like, you know, even if we don't see someone in here all the time, they still are very, very aware of what we're doing and the role that we play.
I think
I
that
was looking
speaks
for
well of
something.
you too.
Go ahead, Roland.
I think that speaks well of you too for being out in the community.
Thank you. That's the type of librarianship I was trained to do. So.
Yeah, I think the whole board is recognizing your efforts in that, Diana, in a very positive way. Could I ask you to look at, I think it was number 12. I suspect that this is something that you do with your staff, but it might be useful to, in maybe an annual report of the reports that you have the staff do for the board, that they might develop a strategy that they might suggest to the board for groups that they've identified that are either marginal or underutilizers of the library. Not that they're not doing a good job with that. I think they are, but just it always focuses your mind when you have to account to somebody else for that. So I just might suggest that for number 12.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. Okay, and then the next one is the appendices. This is kind of a hard one to talk about because it's a list of laws. But I really appreciate this being here because it can help me to identify the law that I need to look at when needed. Some of these I know forward and backward. Sometimes I feel like I had to become a lawyer to be a library director. But some of them, I think, you know, having this list here can kind of help with when something arises and you're not quite sure what law might apply to the situation. So there are some here that I think I'll take a closer look at too that I'm not as familiar with, but obviously we're all familiar with the Open Meetings Act. We all have to go through that training. And Gwen and I are both very familiar with the Freedom of Information Act. We have to do that training. We have to, there's a whole process for discarding records that are no longer needed after a certain number of years. And there's a whole process for getting permission to discard and keeping records of that. So that there are a couple laws here that apply to that. And then of course, labor laws come up, are important to be aware of as well. And then the Illinois Library Act is the one that I end up looking at most often and referring to most often, usually to answer questions for other librarians. So, let's see, PTEL fortunately does not apply to us because we're a home rule community, so we don't have that tax cap. Hopefully the census won't cause us to have to revisit that. IMRF is our retirement fund, so we're very familiar with that. It's actually the city that that administers that on our behalf. We fill out forms when someone comes in who's new or when someone leaves, but we don't communicate directly with IMRF. The city does that. There's a few of these I would probably take a look at. I don't think I've looked at Time Off for Official Meetings Act or the Public Officer Simultaneous Tenure. Probably take a look at that. I think that it has to do with people being on more than one. So the city council, for example, we cannot have more than, I think, 2 people who are on city council serving on our board. If someone were to be appointed to our board, who also served on the council. The Local Records Act has to do with this. Discard of older materials that we no longer need. Some things are kept forever, like meeting minutes. And then some of these things are done by the city as well, like tax anticipation note is done by the city for us. Firearm concealed carry, you're not allowed to bring a gun into a library, fortunately. So, yeah. Smoke-free act to be 15 feet from the door. So, another one that's not listed here that comes up a lot is people coming in with service animals. That's an ADA issue. And basically, if they say it's a service animal, it's a service animal, and it can be in here. So you're not supposed to ask for, paperwork or require that the dog have a vest on or anything like that. So there you go. Any questions about any of these laws?
I have a general question. Does the staff look at this material at all?
I'm going to give this to the staff this year. I think I might have sent it to them already, but again, I do think it's a positive thing for them to take a look at this.
I just wondered if they had any suggestions, if they saw any weak points. It's hard for me to see weak points. I mean, I don't know. I just wondered if they see any room for improvement.
Yeah, that would be a good thing for us to talk about as a staff because they do see it from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a completely different perspective.
Yeah. Okay, so that, don't look at Appendix B, that's next time. Um, So let's see
Make that
where-
our Christmas present.
Yes. Yeah, I can't believe it's gonna already be December.
Yeah.
Crazy year. Okay, so then that's it for my report. The committee reports, those minutes are in your packet for approval. But I will go ahead and talk to you a little bit about what the committee discussed and what we're going to do. Let's see, where are they? Should be in here. They were included, but I don't know. I'm not seeing them right this second. So. Anybody do you remember reading those minutes? If not,
Yes, they're there.
you got them? So what was decided by the committee was that we would continue with curbside service at this time. At the time that we were reviewing this, or when we were getting ready to review this, it was about 50-50 in terms of libraries that were planning to switch over to curbside and those that were not, but and then several that were just not sure. Now, at this point, a lot of libraries have switched over to curbside since we've been put into tier 3. What we will do is also begin to add some slots for people to come in by appointment only, just 3 to 4 people at a time, just to use computers for informational purposes and communication purposes only, things that are non-entertainment, and to use the social workers or to do proctored exam. They will be in here for 90 minutes total, and any individual person can only schedule for 3 days per week. And we will be able to clean the computers in between them being here. So we are going to get that ramped up. I think we'll be able to get that started. Should be able to start doing that by Friday. We've got the air scrubbers in here now, so that makes me feel a little bit more secure about it. So we're just getting all of the procedures lined up. One thing we discussed, and the board may want to discuss further, was it's just very difficult to have a black and white plan for what we do if there's a further shutdown, because it's very difficult to know exactly what a lockdown is. They are, making incremental changes. When we went to curbside, they were really asking everyone to behave as though we were in tier 3, but they kept us at tier 2 for a week while sending out that message before they've made it official. And that could be the same for like further shutdowns, is that, what gets communicated with a strong verbal message from the governor doesn't necessarily get put into action. So it's difficult to know what a real lockdown would be. So what we've talked about, since it's difficult to make a black and white plan, curbside does feel pretty safe. So we might consider just not doing the appointments if we get locked down further, if we go into another tier. We'll also, Jennifer Robertson and Lynette Miller are on this committee as well. So we can confer with each other, and then I could always call a board member is needed, call Don first because he's on the committee and also the board president. And then if Don were for some reason not available, call Susan. So we'll have to kind of play it by ear and see what we want to do. And then of course the committee could meet again as needed with 48 hours notice. So I'm gonna have to take action that then the committee might decide to undo, but we kind of have to remain in a fluid state at the moment in terms of deciding what services to render and how to render them. So it was a very productive meeting, and I can't thank everyone enough, those who were involved, because they're tough decisions to make and they're not decisions I feel should be made unilaterally. So I really appreciate the input from committee members. Do you guys have any questions and any input, any thoughts about what we're currently doing or what we should consider as things change?
Is it still your policy to hold on to returned materials for a week before you deal with them?
Yeah, yeah, everything's in quarantine for 7 days.
Well, I'm a member of the committee, but I wasn't able to attend this meeting for reasons of my health as of Monday, but I think the committee's doing the right job, and in the event that Diana needs any direction, I think the committee is ready, willing to work with her. And I think what our goal is, of course, to provide as many services as we can appropriately and safely provide.
Thank you. So were the minutes in the packet?
I never saw
I
them.
didn't see them.
Yes,
Okay.
they were. Well,
Okay.
you sent them at another time. You sent them.
Oh,
Yeah, they
I
were
sent them
supplemental.
supplementary, that's right,
Yeah.
because we had met after the packet had already gone out. Okay.
Right, right.
Right, that's right. I sent them in an email. So then we can do approval of those minutes.
Their motion to approve the minutes as circulated.
I so move.
There's a second. Pardon? You second?
Is that Chastity?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any discussion? Roland, you get to call the roll.
Barbara,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Roland, yes. Julian, Philip,
Yes,
Joyce,
Yes.
Chastity,
Yes.
Don,
Yes,
Harriet.
Yes.
motion carries. Do we have any unfinished business to discuss today? If not, are there any items of new business you wish to discuss? Do we have any reports of patron behavior?
Yeah.
It has to be pretty bad to get a report when the building's not open, but
Other than stealing water, I guess.
yeah, or throwing trash. So no, not this month.
Okay,
Are the cameras systems working well outside as well as in?
Yeah, definitely. And there's signage that says that you're on camera. So I think that it has kind of changed the feel of the Japanese garden. People were kind of hanging out there and a lot. And I think now that there's a big sign that says you're on camera, then I think that it helps like curb some of that kind of some of the gathering behaviors that were not the things that you should be using a Japanese garden for.
was it group romance or what?
We've had seen a lot. Well, we have found needles out there, so there's been that kind of activity. Yeah, we actually have seen romance out there. So yeah, we've seen a few strange things that would make it uncomfortable for someone who wants to, just relax in the Japanese garden. So we're seeing less of that kind of activity.
Okay, well, that's good to know. If there's no other business, then I think we should be adjourned, and I appreciate everybody's attendance and help tonight.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Stay safe.
All right. Bye.
Hi.
Bye.